Today is the fourth day of writing sessions on the piece for String Quartet called Adaptation, and I thought that I should address the form of the piece. This piece isn't written in a form like a sonata form or a song form with large sections that repeat themselves. It's not A, B, A. There's no chorus that we're looking for to come around again. This is more of what's called a through composed piece, where we start in one spot and then over time it evolves and ends in another spot. Now, does this mean that there's no structure or form to the piece? No, there's a form and a structure to the piece. It's just one that is unique to this particular piece. So let's look at what I want to do to the form. Right now I've got about 2.5 minutes of material, and I want to extend this to be a 6-minute long piece. That has something to do, that 6-minute mark, with the themes behind the piece, and I'll write more about that later. But just let's look at the first spot that I want to address. Here in bar 33 is where we introduce for the first time our inversion of the melody in the whole tone scale. This phrase happens at about 1 minute in the piece, and I think that's a little bit too early to introduce the whole tone sound without preparing the listener for it. So I'm going to put in, let's say, 24 blank measures to give myself room to take material from the past and insert strands of this whole tone DNA so that when we get to this point, our ear is going to be more accepting of it. So I'm going to go ahead and compose these new measures. Now, it could be less than 24 or more than 24. The important thing is how this new material is going to support the form of the piece. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back and take a listen to it. I've composed the new measures. It took me 34 measures to add in that whole tone DNA I was talking about to better prepare us for the transition. Let's go back and listen to what it was originally, where the whole tone section came in at around 1 minute, and see what the difference is with the material that I've added. Here's the original form with the transition to whole tone happening in bar 33. Certainly that works, but it's a little abrupt. It's too soon to be making that transition without preparing it. Let's go back and see what I added to make this form work better. The first thing I did is change the bar leading into our new material from a 6/4 bar to a 4/4 bar. And this allowed there to be less of a feeling of a breath there. We don't feel like we're going into a new section. We're more continuing on from what we already had. Harmonically, I'm using sounds that we've heard previously in the piece, as here in bar 34. This is a series of major 7 flat 5 chords. We've got the D flat major 7 flat 5, the A major 7 flat 5, the G flat major 7 flat 5, and the G major 7 flat 5. We can also see this sound earlier in the piece in another series of major 7 flat 5 chords. And if we go back to our new material, you can see harmonically it's got the same type of sound. And that helps to integrate this new portion to make it feel like it's not just something that's been shoehorned in, but more a continuation of what's come before. Then we continue on with more counterpoint, playing lines against each other in measures 35 and 36, as we've done in the past. It's not till measure 37 where we first introduce that whole tone sound. And you can see these notes are from the whole tone scale, as are all of these notes in the rest of measure 38. Let's hear how this new material integrates into what's come before, and then that first statement of the whole tone sound. I think that worked really seamlessly. Let's move on here and look at some other things that I've peppered in here to prepare us for the musical ideas in future to come. Here in bar 47, we have two lines playing against each other in counterpoint at the fourth, very much like we do later on in the piece, where the two lines are playing counterpoint against each other at the fifth. We also have them playing in octaves, so the first violin and the viola are playing in octaves, along with the second violin and the cello playing in octaves. So once again, this mirrors what's to come later on. It prepares us for it, and it also integrates itself into this section, making it part of the piece. Let's just hear this little spot. Let's look at another spot in this new material. In measures 54 through 58, I'm also introducing that whole tone scale in all of the parts. Let's take a listen to what this would have sounded like had I not conformed our normal cells to the whole tone sound, and then later listen to it conform to the whole tone sound. Now you can see that it's over an E pedal here. So here it is not conformed to the whole tone sound as it normally would have been. And now we're going to hear it conform to the whole tone sound. And you'll see it's a very slight difference. If we look at this part, here we have an A natural, and in the conformed section, where it is conformed to the whole tone scale, we have an A flat. Here we have a D sharp in the non-conformed section, and then here we have a D natural. So there are some slight changes. You can see this run right here is slightly different than this run. So it's not a big change. Let's hear what that difference sounds like. So again, you can see that small changes can make big differences over a long period of time. If we move on, the final thing that we have is this 6/4 bar, as it originally was, leading us back into our whole tone section. This was way back at measure 33. Now we've pushed it all the way down to measure 67. Let's take a listen to all of that now from the beginning and see how this new material integrates into the form. Form is a really powerful part of the creative composing process, and it's something that is easy to overlook because it's not as exciting as putting down notes, but that form, the way that things unfold, are really, really important. So let's go back and listen to that and see now when we reach measure 67 and this whole tone section, does it feel less abrupt? Does it feel like the piece is evolving? Does it feel right? Thank you to everyone who's following along, and I will see you all next time.